up, guys? Jacob Green. This is Music Universal Language Podcast. This is the 23rd episode, and today my guest is Mr. Danjo Harris. Welcome to the podcast, man. Thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me, man.
Good to see you. It's been a while.
I know, for real.
I don't actually remember sometime jamming in Colorado. We did that one crazy show when you used to play with the Pine Dwellers in Denver at Jay's place. What was it?
That's what I was thinking. I thought Quixotes was the last memory that I had. Right? Quixotes?
Yeah, and that was wild. Like, Pine Dwellers crowd was wild.
Yeah, they brought a pretty raucous bunch in our day.
But I think it suited, downtown kind of Denver scene, it's kind of like a little grimier than a mountain scene or whatever. But shit.
That one was good. There's some mountain towns that were good. There were some places that the crowd was a little too crazy. Like the venues didn't really like it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, can they handle the Pine Dweller?
Yeah.
Entourage.
Seriously. Yeah, there was some interesting blowouts, like in a good way, but I think one venue, a couple of our members were maybe partying in the manager's office and got caught. They weren't happy about that.
That's pretty cool. That's
there might have been some intercourse on someone's desk. I can't remember the detail. A little hazy on the details.
They mistaken it for the green room, the extra green room.
Yeah, no. So yeah, I don't know if we got invited back to that one.
Shit, that's how you get banned, man. Well, shit, yeah. That was probably 5 years ago, I think. Maybe.
I would think so.
'Cause that's kind of when the band went to Pine Dwellers, right?
Yeah. It's definitely been a while. I would have to look at the dates. I'm so bad with that stuff, but I would say at least 5 years. Probably 5 years is a good estimate.
It sounds about right, because I know I was coming back. I was living in California still and going back to Wisconsin, and that was just on the way sort of thing.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
That was fun. It was always we can stop in Colorado because it's on the way already. You know what I mean?
It's always on the way.
Oh, yeah, somewhere. All right, so let's get into your musical background a little bit. I know you've been doing music a long time. When did you actually start learning an instrument of sorts? Can you remember?
It was very young. I know my grandmother got me an acoustic guitar. We're talking 5 or 6 years old probably, and that didn't really.
Was it a small one?
It was a little guy, yeah, and it was more of a toy. I mean, it wasn't like fluorescent colored fake strings. It was a steel string. It was still decent, probably half size, not even a 3/4.
Right.
I just kind of played on that though. In terms of technical stuff, I started taking drum lessons when I was about 7.
Oh, cool! I didn't know you started on drums.
I wanted to take guitar. They said my fingers were too small, and in retrospect, I always accused them of, I think they just had too many guitar students at the time, and they needed to fill the drum classes.
Yeah, like you said, they can make smaller guitars. The frets are closer together.
I had a small guitar in hand.
Come on. All right, so they pressured you into drums.
But, they get the job done. But yeah, the drums, I feel, was a great start. I think a lot of players struggle with rhythm. And now being a banjo player, it's all about subdivision and 32-second notes, all the crazy stuff that I learned on a snare drum first. I think it did help a lot.
That's interesting.
And it was only a few years later I started guitar lessons, 11 or 12. And then as part of the drum lessons, which was cool, he taught me vibraphone, piano, so I had to learn all the scales and everything.
No shit.
So I still had that foundation.
And so what would you learn on the drums? Was it modern stuff or just kind of big band music, whatever?
Yeah, right.
Jazz,
it was definitely a mix. I was obsessed with the Beatles at that age, and that's kind of what made me want to start playing music.
Hell yeah.
And obviously I wanted to be John Lennon, but like, okay, I'll try to be Ringo Starr. And
For the time being.
my drum teacher, you know, kind of disavowed me of that, or he was basically like, listen, Ringo kind of sucks. You have to understand a lot of drummers kind of suck. And I was like shocked at the time, but then when he started showing me like funk stuff and jazz stuff, I was like, okay, there's a much deeper pocket that I should focus on. But it was funny.
Like, almost like there's appreciation in simplicity. I mean, I guess maybe if you're that technical of a player, fucking Ringo sucks,
great. You
man.
can't rule anyone out. You can't rule anyone out. I think he was being blunt because, you know, I was so obsessed with their music.
He wanted you to like expand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was a mix. I mean, first of all, when you start, it's like really boring. You just have a tiny drum pad and you're like just doing paradiddles, you know? And then I got like a trashy Royce trash can drum set, Pine Box a few years later.
Nice.
So that was like a slow build. But yeah, I think it was a mix. I mean, he would bring in stuff. Like I'm trying to think. He would bring in pop songs as well as jazz and funk and classic stuff. Like he's like, you like Ringo, check out some Led Zeppelin. It's like, and I was like, okay, got it. That dude fucking rages. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a hell of a drug.
Keith Moon or something.
But yeah, so I remember like one Headlight, that Wallflower song, which seems really cheesy, but it's just hi-hat. There's like no cymbals, just hi-hat, snare, bass, like super pocket, really cool drum beat. Tight. So it'd be surprising to me sometimes the things he would bring in. But yeah, it was definitely a huge mix, like Jackson 5 to the Wallflowers to Benny Goodman, you know.
That's pretty cool.
I think that translated. I mean, my parents had a super good eclectic taste in music, and along with my brothers and stuff. So I probably would have developed a pretty eclectic taste anyway, but I think it helped shape that to be like, there's really good stuff in every genre. Like there's some really cool things going on and things to draw from, you know? So I try not to stereotype or.
Well, it's a cool way to like almost recognize it more when you break it down to the instrument, you know, the instrumentation
Absolutely.
of it, like
totally, man.
And but yeah, that makes a lot of sense what you said with the banjo, and you're learning those, I don't know, the triplets on top of the rhythm or whatever you want to call them. So many fucking triplets. I mean, that's what you would do, you know, playing brushes for like a bluegrass or whatever.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, similar thing. But
yeah, so there's always the math of it, which I'm not great at math except in the musical form, but like on banjo you have 3 picks.
Right.
Versus most other things are some combination of 2, you know, drumsticks, there's 2, so it's more of a 16th as opposed to a triplet 16th. Right. And I do plenty of 16th note stuff with the banjo. But even guitar being like up down chucks, you know, even triplets are a little more challenging.
Even just like simple finger picking can be up down.
Yeah.
Guitar. Piano, 2 hands.
Right. Yeah.
That's a little different.
Or maybe 4 if you count the hi-hat and the kick drum, and just like on a vibraphone, you might even have 4 sticks in each hand, you know, but it's usually an even number. So it's a little bit of a.
So did you play like an epic xylophone song or? Like some Beatles.
In band in high school, we had a xylophone bitch. Becca, if you're out there, we love you. And she was the mallet player. Like if there was anything really complicated, she had to take the part. Because there was this thing about drummers, like we know how to play all these instruments, but we definitely have our strong suits.
Right.
So no, I didn't really get that epic on the xylophone, admittedly. Like.
So okay, but you said you did drums but you started doing guitar before high school, or?
Yeah. So guitar, I think I started formal lessons probably like 12 or so, middle of junior high school.
Sounds all right.
And took those for a couple of years, and kind of ever since then I've been self-taught, just like extrapolating the scales and chords and putting them on mandolin or banjo or dobro, anything like that.
Right.
But yeah, I got more serious on guitar.
And you were acoustic then too?
My first guitar was a Mexican Strat.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, it was a few years before I got an acoustic. I used to go to camp, and I think like I bought an acoustic guitar for being able to go camping and that kind of thing. Like
impress the ladies around the campfire.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I wasn't the most attractive child, so any edge I could get. But yeah, I started on the Strat, which was like unplugged for lessons. I mean, these teachers are smart. They know it's going to be chaos if you have kids like plugged into amps with distortion.
Yeah.
So it was an electric guitar, but I played it acoustically.
So
just to learn.
But were you trying to learn like electric stuff? Were you into more like rock at this point, or?
No, not really. I mean, the first song I learned was that Nirvana "Come As You Are" because it's like just so easy.
I know,
but it's not even like that's what I liked. It's like my brother's friend sold me the guitar, and he's like, "Here, I'll teach you the song." So I have some basis. I think I was pretty obsessed with Dave Matthews Band at that time, so definitely more into like percussive acoustic playing.
Yeah, so chords and
weird chords too.
Yeah, that is true. Gets
like definitely
jazzy.
open. I learned the open chords because that's what you do, but like I was instantly kind of doing like weird voicings and inversions and stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just trying to copy,
Right, and that's so like 12, 13, that's kind of like DMB peak, where he was starting
to... Oh, they were peaking, man.
Yeah, that was getting huge.
I think freshman year of high school is when they did that album. Like, the record company threw out the Steve Lillywhite album, their longtime producer. They're like, this is too depressing and dark.
Oh,
They made some other record, which I hated, which was kind of universally hated. Everyone was like obsessed with this bootleg Lillywhite sessions that came out instead.
Right. But then wasn't the other one the mainstream one too, though?
Yeah, they had some hits.
Right. So so they had like, it was kind of like their true fans were into the Lillywhite or whatever you want to call them. Yeah.
And Glenn Ballard, not classic, but huge pop producer at that time and probably still, like Alanis Morissette and a ton of that kind of stuff. He came in, made their new record with them. They definitely had some hits. But that's basically when I fell off. I was like, okay, I'm done with these guys. I hate to say that, but
shit, damn.
That was kind of the end, but it's cool. You move on, and I think they had a lot of jazz influence, a lot of bluegrass influence, so they funneled me in some different directions.
Fusion.
Yeah, for sure.
And so,
but anyway, start and kind of coffee house shows like Caribou Coffee.
Oh, no shit. And you're like outside of Chicago, grew up?
Yeah, so this is north of Chicago. We would do coffee houses. There would be some bars like that would let us play. I mean, we were all super underage.
Did you have to like have your parents come, or?
I think they would have anyway, because that was our ride. With our gear.
Right, I thought, but I think Wisconsin has a law like that. Like
Wisconsin's totally down. No, you're right. Yeah. Wisconsin, it would have been totally legit. I don't know in Illinois the actual legality.
Oh.
But a few places would have us. It's not like we were drinking or anything.
And you're bringing your little crowd in and family.
Yeah, exactly. For
friends,
sure.
Family.
Yeah. Some Battle of the Bands in high school. Those were always fun. Those were like the big time shows because they would bring in sound and lights.
Yeah.
And like the gymnasium would turn into like a legit concert.
Yeah, we had one called the Big Kahuna.
Oh yeah, nice.
But
I think ours was Band-Aid.
Band-Aid, right on. So were you in like multiple bands, or were you just kind of?
Yeah, I think I kind of was because like one group was kind of like jam, fusion, jazz, kind of a mix. Like we're like covering Pat Metheny songs and shit. And, like, it was just like, I remember my uncle, a great piano player. He was like, it was definitely a joke, but he was kind of like, "Why are you doing this?" Like we're playing this super technical song called 557, That's the time signature of the song. It was in 5/5 in a bar of 7. I just love this shit though. I mean, to me, a great melody, a great song, it doesn't matter how weird it is. And maybe the ones that almost sound normal, which this one didn't. This one was very syncopated and weird.
Yeah.
But even to this day, like I can always tell when a song's a little alternate, like if the timing is different, which I love. That immediately draws me in. But I think the really good songs kind of still feel natural. So like on my record, I think track number 9, To Go Home, is in 5, but it sounds like very straight. It doesn't immediately pop out unless you condition that it's in a weird time, you know?
Yeah. No, it's cool to if it works for the song best, you know what I mean? It doesn't really matter what the signature is. I mean, I guess like you said, a band like that, they can have like extremely off the wall signature. Almost like they're like trying to complicate it with each like different pattern of the song or something. But sometimes
there's definitely some of that going around.
When it's sometimes just like almost like how you write a melody or lyrics, it comes out it comes out in that signature. So it's like you're not gonna like alter it just to make it 4/4. You know, it's like what's the point?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Once in a while you wrestle with that. I had a song in 7, track number 4 on my record, Hermit Being. So it's in 7, all the verses, and it was a little bit of a struggle. I was like, I was dating a musician at the time, so I played it for her. I'm like, what do I do here? And she was kind of like, whatever fits the lyrics that you have, like you don't need to have an extra long pause. Cause that's kind of what I was struggling with. I'm like, if I make it an 8, I can have a little more time to catch my breath. Right. It's like, well, that's not really how it's flowing. It's like, it's just pretty straight on top of each other in 7. And I stuck with that. And then sometimes it becomes a struggle to perform it also, because like, just musicians in general, and myself included, even if it's my song, there's an instinct to like take that extra beat at the end of a bar.
And so you almost like step ahead before they do, or it can throw people off. Yeah, I had a song. I have a song like that, and it was like 11 or something. And I was gonna say, you don't play with a drummer, so like a drummer can, if they don't got that, it can really throw them off.
The drums and bass gotta link it in. Like,
and it's like if you can't do anything like out of 4/4, it's like shit. I don't know.
Right.
But
I don't know about these guys.
Everyone's got their own thing.
Once it links in, I really prize the musicians that within the first 10 minutes of rehearsing a new song, they're like locked. They got it.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
But I also understand that sometimes it takes a minute. So for me with a song like that, even if I was struggling with it, now a few years later, it's like I could never play that in 8. It's so in my head and in my fingers.
Yeah, it's muscle memory at this point.
Yeah, totally.
Just how you do it. Yeah, and when it's like, I guess, there's way more music that is in that 4/4/8, you know what I mean? Like overall. But it's a lot of obscure stuff, or I guess stuff that's a little more memorable, definitely has that, you know what I mean?
And other cultures, let's not forget.
True.
For other people's, like 11 is their 4/4. It's crazy.
Well, it's like what's Indian scale? They don't even have some of the same notes. It's like different medians in between.
Yes, scales and time is all culturally relative, and it's easy to forget that, especially in Western culture. There's not as much of that, but basically whatever scale and whatever time signature your mother sings you lullabies when you're a baby, right, that's your 4/4. That's what you internalize as like normal.
Well, I think it just so happens that, there's probably more people singing in 4/4 because there's more, I don't know, Europeans or whatever you want to say. Caucasians? Maybe?
Yeah.
Well, depending
on where you are. It is more standard. Like the Turkish rhythm, that's that Dave Brubeck album, Time Out. It's like, that's never going to be the main rhythm. But for that culture, that's a huge... Like they all just have it in their heart, that like they know it.
Yeah, it's something they don't have to think about. It's just natural. So
yeah,
interesting.
Tangent. That's our first tangent.
Yeah, there you go. Going off on a little off the
A
top of shit.
tangent.
Tangent. All right. So, Danjit. Oh, you said Danj. Yes. So, what the hell were you doing? You're in high school
Oh
playing
yeah.
in
So
crazy bands.
there's jazz band, which I loved,
Yep.
but they make you be in regular band to be in jazz band.
Yep. I was in
Thankfully,
orchestra. I knew the band kids.
we didn't have a marching band.
Oh, no? Not enough
No,
kids?
it's like they almost had like a philosophical, political stance against it. They felt that it was like taking away from the music if you're spending all your time learning the marches and stuff like that.
Oh, God. Well, but that's
And
teaching you how to
I didn't
dance a
mind
little.
not having to march around. You know, I was a pretty pacifist kid, but so you had to be
Makes
in regular
sense.
band. There was pep band, which was kind of optional, and you'd basically just show up and sight read. Like I don't even know if there was rehearsal for
Right.
pep band. You know what I mean? We just play fun songs. So I would show up to that sometimes.
That's cool.
You
Extra credit.
know, and I would get plucked up for like sometimes they would need a drummer for musical or other theater stuff. But I was doing all that, and then
And then doing
like I
guitar
said,
with jam bands?
I was
Or
I was
you were in two
so
worlds.
that's why I think there was kind of two projects, because with the drums I was playing with a more like fusion jazz, like heavy crazy shit. With guitar I was starting to play my originals and do like solo gigs around town.
Coffee shop thing.
Yeah, street fairs, like anything that would have me.
Right on. And were you like playing, you were doing originals mixed with covers, acoustic,
Yeah,
songwriter, high school
like,
guy?
I think Angel from Montgomery is one of the earliest tunes that I remember covering.
That's pretty
So
cool.
I just did a John Prine like little memorial video on my Instagram
Right on.
the other week. I did Paradise because like here we are like 20 years later. I'm a little sick of playing Angel from Montgomery. Amazing song. Amazing song.
Probably one of his most played, because who did it? Bonnie Raitt, right? Or
Yeah. Susan Tedeschi
famous
has a
one.
killer version.
Yeah, exactly.
Dave had a version. That's probably how I first heard it. So yeah, there's some amazing versions out there. Suffice to say. So
Okay.
yeah, I was doing guitar, kind of folky, singer-songwriter, and then drums, like a little more technical, eclectic, like mostly instrumental, not as much singing.
So did your high school have much of like a music scene as far as like trends and shit? Were you like kind of part of a acoustic, folky, hippie trend, or was it just kind of like not like that too much?
No, it's a good
We
question.
had a punk scene and hip hop scene and all that.
Yeah, I went to a school of like over 4,000 kids, so it was almost like a tiny college.
Right.
So there was plenty. There was definitely plenty of like teeny boppers, pop shit.
Yeah, anything you think of. Yeah.
And I can't even reflect on what was popular at that time. Like that's how removed I was from the mainstream. I'm in high school with all these kids. I'm not even really sure, you know. But in my jazz department, there was plenty of like jazzers.
So we're like a lot of so you were the jazz band. Those are all from like the jazz band people you played with in school were the same people you played with in the fusion band. Same kids, same people?
Exactly. Yeah, like the piano player, we had a real good connection.
That's pretty cool though. You're getting both styles, you know, because you're like probably wanting to do your own thing more when it's just you and your guitar, and then kind of your own signature more, and then you're probably kind of, you know, exercising your jamming skills with the jazz.
Yeah, I mean, and I was predominantly on drums in the jazz band. I think I filled in on bass one time.
Right.
Like they were all sick or something. I might have done guitar on a tune.
So was it like busy enough to like almost every weekend, or was it like once a month in the summer sort of thing? Or hard to
It
remember.
was probably more like once a month average all year round.
Right, and just kind of on to the next place you can find, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
cool.
and there were some consistent ones. There was like street fair type shit that they would call us every year, or other stuff that would be erratic.
Would you try to like do something big in the city or well, not big yet, I guess you're young and shit.
No, we would definitely try though. Yeah, I'm just trying to reflect. It's probably still the same as now. Any kind of outdoor festival, street fair type vibe is like the biggest, most satisfying.
Well, it's like
gig.
sometimes, especially if you got some skills when you're young, they can give the opportunity. Like, yeah, let's get we're like 16, 17 years old. People love
Definitely.
Not that you guys didn't kick ass, Maybe there's a video out there somewhere.
That's still a thing. People are really excited. I can't remember her name, but there was this guitar player in high school with a really killer voice. And it's just that much more enthralling. You're like, God damn, she's like 14 years old and she's killing it,
Yeah, it's true. There's definitely, when people just got like that natural talent at such a young age.
Yeah.
But
And there's plenty of work, but, aptitude times ambition. I've heard that a lot.
Yeah, totally. Dedication can pay off. All right, well, let's skip ahead a little. So then you went to
skip ahead.
College in Madison?
Yeah, college was pretty quiet for me musically. I was like studying psych, which I'm still fascinated with. I read psych books, especially during this quarantine. I've like read like 4 of them.
Wow.
So that's like an alternate track, and that's where I thought I was going at that time.
Yeah,
I was
so
like, music's fun, but let's go this direction.
What changed that? Just by the end of college?
I got real burnt out on school, was definitely a factor. Yeah, like by the end of senior year, it was like, no way am I coming back.
Right
now, maybe later in life.
Because there's always another degree with that sort of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's
so that's my plan B. I would say it's not that far down the list of alternate ideas. I mean, on some level, I felt that music as therapy is just so powerful for me and for other people that I really do feel like I'm like, I don't want to call it therapy, but like it is performing musical therapy. I see that effect on people, how happy.
When I think it's that's what really can make or break a show, you know what I mean? Or just like, or that's the ones you remember the most, and kind of when you have that mutual energy.
Absolutely.
You both, you're sharing something mutual. So
yeah,
it's powerful.
No, for sure.
Powerful thing, man. But so were you kind of just like, picking at your guitar when you could while you're fucking studying all this madness?
Yeah. I still gigged, probably less often than once a month at that point, and I entertained a few different groups, so a few different gigs with different groups. Like one of them was kind of like a cool singer-songwriter, definitely acoustic-y vibe.
Right on.
I did like kind of a crazy looping thing with some buddies who were like really great lyricists.
Oh yeah, you told me about this.
Yeah, so
Hip-hop.
my homie Casey O'Kane, he goes by Rhyme Wave. Amazing lyricist still. He's doing really cool stuff. But we had him and another buddy. And then I was kind of in that like Most Def, Modest Yahoo, like singing / rapping, which I really enjoyed that. And I think it was a bit of a segue to bluegrass songwriting, which can be very fast and frenetic vocally.
Interesting.
But anyway, yeah, so it's kind of a Keller Williams type vibe.
That's cool. So wait,
yeah.
you were looping the instruments while Casey would rap and you would sing too?
Yeah, I would like make a beatbox, put a bass line over it, do some keys or whatever, some guitar, like just kind of get crazy.
Man. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And then like add a harmony on top of it while he's like rapping something or?
Yeah, there's definitely
improvise?
some of that.
Cool.
Yeah, there's definitely some of that. So that was kind of a pretty satisfying
And
thing musically.
when did you actually get a banjo? Is this around that time or?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. That it was later in college. I was I was in the music shop debating mandolin, banjo. I was like, I don't know. They're both awesome. What do I do?
Right.
I think a mandolin like came up on sale or something. At the shop I went to. I think it was like Good and Loud, maybe something like that in Madison. I hope it's still there. But anyway, I started with the mandolin, and it was probably only a few months later, maybe like 6 months tops, I picked up a banjo and kind of simultaneously.
And you had played like open tuning guitar before.
A lot of open tuning. So yeah, that was the thing. You think mandolin, it's almost like mandolin for right hand was more comfortable. Way, 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 way more comfortable. Like banjo is so weird at first on the right hand. In terms of left hand, banjo was more familiar because it was exactly like open D and G tunings that I'd done on guitar for a really long time.
Totally. Huh. Yeah, when it's like mandolins, it's like upside down four string.
I know, but that never helped me. I don't know if it helped you.
I mean, I used to play violin, so I don't know. I don't know.
Oh.
It's kind of like a lot of those instruments, I'm just like really good at certain scales. You know what I'm saying? Then you could just like cheat with the capo or something, but.
True.
It's all like relative to, well, I don't know. It all depends on whatever.
People just always say that, though. They're like, oh, it's just an upside down guitar. I'm like, how does that help anyone? I don't know, but maybe someone is out there getting helped by that.
Ukulele is definitely guitar on the fifth capo. Yeah.
Oh, it is? Really?
Well, you take away the two bottom strings, the E and the A. Fifth capo is the ukulele, G, C, E, A.
I got it right here.
Yeah. I broke my first string on ukulele, and I've never done the nylon. So I'm like, okay, ukulele's retired for a second.
You have to tie it off on the nut, on the bridge?
Yeah, it's just like a little knot, and I don't know if I actually might have an old nylon guitar that's like, I could just take one off, but I just order one. They don't cost anything.
I guarantee you that they sell loop end strings for it, for people that don't want to have to mess with the knot.
Oh, yeah, they do. But then it's still got that same... Yeah, well, the thing is, I usually... just bust it out in the summer because it's like a ukulele summer vibe, and then like it coincidentally busted in the fall, so I'm like, all right, whatever. It's gonna stay at home for a while. But perfect. All right, so you're in Madison, you're playing a couple local gigs, you're doing experimental.
A little angle adjustment here, sorry.
Experimental looping hip hop and singer songwriter, kind of bluegrassy. And weren't you kind of jamming with Noah then? Or was he...
Yeah.
He was in Milwaukee.
He was. I think he moved to Madison my junior year.
Oh, right on.
So we did some stuff.
Was that more the singer-songwriter stuff, or...?
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to think. It's like eventually the looping... as it went digital and it became a little more like Iodo style, electronic, down tempo. So he would come and play some shows with me doing that kind of stuff also.
That's cool. Yeah, because I'm saying he likes hip hop a lot too.
Yeah, it kind of gets that like fiddle. Beats Antique vibe when you get like a banjo and a fiddle.
Oh yeah.
Doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I like that.
So we definitely had some fun like house parties and stuff like that. But yeah, I think segue to like moving out to Colorado. I mean, I got pretty into bluegrass. By the time I left the Midwest, I was like super into bluegrass. I think a girlfriend of mine maybe took me to a Yonder show like sophomore year or junior year, and then I went and visited my friend at Ann Arbor. She was going to school in Michigan, and she put on a Ricky Skaggs record, and I was just like, blown away. I was like,
do you remember which one?
I'm sorry?
Do you remember which record?
I'm pretty sure it was Live in Charlottesville. I think,
right
I
on.
think that's but yeah, hearing those guys, Kentucky Thunder live, I was just like
Blown away.
so blown away. So I was like, all right, you got to go home and practice.
Fucking
So
fast, man.
yeah,
Fast
so I
and
spent a
tight.
few years, there was definitely some time when I should have been studying, when I was ripping through mandolin scales instead. But it was a good like little break, like give my brain kind of a break.
Yeah.
And some of the study aids that were out there had me playing a lot faster than I normally would have been.
Right. Well, again, it's like it's therapy, you know. It's like you spent your time wisely, like playing it more, because you're just like thinking about doing it, you know.
So as I'm studying therapy, I have to do my own therapy for myself, which is take 10 minutes, play some scales, like
that's
get
some
creative.
Serious irony right there. So
yeah.
What
but
psychs go through?
I think moving out to Colorado was a big. I mean, it still kind of feels like a mecca, especially for my type of bluegrass, a little more progressive and jammy.
Yeah, great pickers in that scene.
A little less traditional, but it's the kind of thing where like, and this might have changed over time, but like, there's a lot of places where people will still, you say banjo, it's automatically a joke at first,
Right.
you know?
Oh yeah.
Oh, watch out, he plays banjo, like we better get out of here. Or like the Deliverance, or ironically all the drummer jokes. People repurpose drummer jokes to be banjo jokes, which is great.
Right. Yeah,
really funny, guys, really funny.
Give me some more motivation to prove you wrong, fuckers.
Yeah, so coming out here, it's like, you play banjo? Fuck yeah, we love the banjo. It's like, whoa, this is such a different universe.
Totally.
And a lot of great players to like kind of draw from.
I feel like there's just so much like openness and acceptance of just people to jam at any skill level. You know what I mean?
It's
like people at higher skill levels like want you to catch up. They're like, come on, man, fucking get in here.
Yeah, no, it's a very welcoming scene, very organic, like that we can have a pick anywhere. Like I knew of a group of pickers, they like hiked up a 14er, including an upright bass, and they just went and jammed on top of this 14er and made a little video. And it's like, good luck doing that in any kind of electronic genre or even a rock genre. It's like,
and that's really I think that was always a love, like for me, for any type of acoustic music, but especially something like bluegrass, is that you can always have that full sound and everything's acoustic. I guess when you take it to the jamming, aspect, you can get a little psychedelic or whatever, depending. But the roots of the bluegrass is always like, it's acoustic, obviously. So
one microphone.
That's got to be a dope video.
Right.
What's the band?
Yeah, so...
Do you remember what year you moved to Colorado?
2011. It's been almost 10 years.
Right on. Cool.
I know, time flies. So yeah, in terms of Colorado, I mean, was 11 when you came out? We did some shows, I think, in the spring.
Yeah, that was when we did, well, actually, no, the 2012... was when we came back out, I believe. Okay. Yeah, 2012, and we did that whole, Planet Mind radio thing. All those, like, we did the shows with, like, Eric and...
Planet Minds?
The Netherlands little radio thing down below.
Yeah.
And then later, I saw you were playing at the Vince Herman's going away party.
That's still... like one of the most epic pictures for me.
Yeah, it was Elephant Revival. Jeff Austin was there. R.I.P. Vince.
That was an epic day.
That was crazy. It was funny because it was like, I think you were probably hanging out with us, and it was like we just didn't see you, and then the next time you see you, you're like on stage. We're like, oh shit. You're like on the other side watching the stage, like, whoa.
That sounds about right. You can't pass up on opportunities like that.
Yeah, that was crazy, man. That was really cool.
Yeah.
That was a year after living there, so that kind of alone shows the awesomeness.
Yeah, you're in the scene. You're in the welcoming scene. Yeah, so I was with kind of a more traditional type bluegrass band. Like I was the most progressive member, and after I
Mm.
left, it was like just completely traditional,
Right,
which
right.
served them well for a little while. But I just think in general, if you're going to be traditional, like you have to be the best. You got to be way at the top of the game.
You
Otherwise, you
got
kind of need to carve out a style of some
yeah.
kind.
Yeah,
Um,
you got to really nail those traditional licks in those songs
yeah,
if you're going to go that route. Or even if like you're writing originals and you want to be a traditional style, you got to kind of like pay some serious homage.
right.
You know what I'm saying? But Jamgrass, I guess it kind of allows you to, it's almost like mixing rock with it or something, or
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want to have that
more freedom.
basis of all the roles and all the traditional. You want to have that. Pete Wernick, great banjo player, he talks about like saluting the flag. He's like, even the progressive bands will salute the flag. We play a traditional tune or two to be like, this is where we came from. We want to
Yeah,
respect that and pay homage to that, like you're saying.
right.
Um,
When
but
it's
yeah, I mean,
interesting with
segue from that to like, I feel like Pine Dwellers was like a complete 180, like banjo and fiddle over drums, electric guitar, like super awesome electric bass player. Just such a
yeah.
different track.
That was you guys had an interesting sound. I wouldn't even really call it Jamgrass. It was just almost like I don't even know, like rock with just like
Yeah, no,
grassy elements or
I
something.
think it tilted more to uh like blues, funk, rock,
Yeah, danceable. Well, dancing and that sort of. Didn't you even play guitar with
or
them?
electric banjo.
Oh yeah, you had that cool. You still got that thing? That
Yeah,
electric? It's
it's
got like
right
a
here.
resonator
I
hole or
just
something.
restrung it because I'm gonna start recording another album now that I'm just sitting at home all the time. So I'm gonna start tracking my next album,
Oh
and
yeah.
I want to have like every paintbrush. This kind of relates to what we were saying. It's like on the last record, I think I it's certainly different. There's some synth pads and there's piano and it's not just bluegrass, but I think there was more of a sense of like let's kind of keep it in the box,
Mm.
at least instrumentally. Um,
Yeah.
there's still
So
plenty of
the
jamming. There's still plenty of long solos and different stuff, but like on this one, I feel like let's bring out every single color that you have in the palette. And
oh.
let's use a little nylon guitar, a little dreadnought, a little electric.
So you feel like it's almost like song by song is a different expression of your style.
Yeah, and I think that's a cool way. I mean, there's definitely something to be said for the cohesion of a record,
Yeah.
but there's also totally something to be said for like, I mean, I have this like tiny acoustic electric guitar, and I have this one song that's kind of like percussive and has tapping and shit, and I'm like, totally use that for that. Like everything as a foundation, I like the dreadnought, like super deep, rich, kind of
Yeah.
bluegrass sound.
Right.
But just kind of that thought of when I approach this with studio work, because people will hire me and be like, bring everything you have, and I totally understand it, because it's like there's the
Different.
cohesion of a record, but there's also like each song is a different painting and each
Yeah.
instrument's a different color or texture. So like I'll go in and okay, this song I think electric mandolin and dobro would be great. This
Mm.
other song I don't really hear any mandolin, but like some banjo and maybe some guitar licks. It's just like
It's interesting how like you hear that because they give you something without you just like fill in the spaces, right? And you're like, oh, I kind of hear this more in this song, and I guess that just kind of comes from like experience or maybe even what you're influenced by, but I get
definitely,
or maybe just the tone and the melody of the song. You're like, this needs a mandolin. This needs
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
dobro.
It's one of my favorite things to do, and it's
Yeah,
what
no, I like
keeps
that shit
pushing
too.
me to want to get more instruments and learn new instruments, just to have these different textures.
Yeah, and
And
especially like I really like because you almost have your main rhythm instrument that like you might record and sing with as like you have if each one's a different instrument, you get like different tones and how you're gonna sing them and yada yada. But that's cool. That's like really diverse when you do it that way, I suppose. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think
what's
there's
sorry.
a tendency in a lot of records and live performances, and it's opened up a little, but I think there's a tendency to like guitar just fills in so much space, especially in the mids. So
Mm.
that's kind of the tendency, either guitar or piano as the
Yeah.
lead thing. But we found in some studio stuff that I do, and like Crooked Still is one of my favorite bands. They're no longer, but they never had a guitar. There's other things filling in. And so it's something that we found, because some producers even are looking for that. They're like, we want to pull the guitar. Let's say like a singer-songwriter record I worked on.
Yeah.
They were like, we want to pull her guitar way back and have other things. So it's like maybe banjo is kind of the lead rhythm, or
Yeah.
mandolin, and it really opens stuff up. Um,
Yeah,
like you're
because
saying, having
it,
different.
it can almost be either or. Like it could be like a really full guitar, and that's kind of all you got, or you take it, like you said, take it all back and fill it in. It's a whole nother song, or
Yeah, totally.
with this. And I really love doing alternate versions of songs, so you can almost just like have both. Like here's
True.
just them and the
100%.
guitar. Here's the fucking
100%.
the full version or whatever. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's the recording process that's what I kind of love about it. It's like you have an idea in your head, but like as you're going through it, it just kind of like shifts one way or another, and you almost like you know what you're gonna play, but then you like play something better, whatever. I
Yeah.
don't know. You
Sometimes
feel
the
it.
mistakes end up being these really cool nuances that you never would have thought of, but you're like, oh, that's how it's supposed to sound. I played it off time, but it's so cool.
When it's like I just do like multiple takes a lot, and like you'll hear a lot of that shit in post, production or editing. You're just like picking the best take, and you're like, holy shit, I thought this take was better than that take, but no, you know what I mean? It's just
Absolutely,
like,
man.
or even
And
like
that's part of songwriting.
a 3 second clip of something from one take, and
Yeah. No,
studio
100%.
magic.
It's all part of that creative process. I still prefer, like we're talking about organic, and I still prefer just sitting down with an instrument, but the kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff that comes out working on the computer and with your mixer, and just like that's all part of the process too. It's all part of the journey.
When
So
it's
I'm
I
to
think
enjoy that more.
And yeah, it just comes down to like a matter of taste, because it's just like how far do you want to like go with the song, And there's always some people who will prefer a straight acoustic song over something that's produced or whatever you want to call it or full.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, that's why I just like doing, because I mean I've had that, like a lot of people like a stripped down one man band sound compared to a full band. And so I just decided I'm just going to do both versions so you can please everybody, or try to, I
You can
guess.
pick. I think
You know
that's
what I'm
super
saying?
cool. I mean,
'Cause
this day and age, it's the sky is the limit. You can release as much as you want, and it's all
yeah.
out there. And
Well,
you
I like,
know,
because a lot of people do like deluxe versions of things. So you'll get this take or some rare take or, whatever. I love all that shit. Just fucking.
100%.
So do you
I really
have
enjoy it.
alternate versions of anything from your album, or something that
I'm
you
sorry.
didn't? Do you have any alternate versions or songs that didn't make the cut before you released on the album? That's got to be the bootleg version or something?
Right. Well,
Or was
so
it
in
like
terms
thought
of,
of like, I want these songs and
no, for sure. I mean, my first song was 10 record. My first record was 10 songs,
yeah.
which is, as you know, that's like an incredible effort.
Right. Well, no, I usually pick 20 and then narrow them down to 10.
Exactly.
Is that kind of what similar thing?
Yeah, I mean, this next record I'm working on, there's definitely new stuff written within the last few months, but a lot of it is the stuff that I couldn't finish for the first record. It was like there was already another album of material, which is a great way to be. You're like,
Right.
I know the next project. And granted, it took a while because I was so busy gigging, and that's the blessing of this period right now of just sitting at home. It's like
Catch up.
it is allowing time for that.
Totally.
But yeah, on the first cut, I finished my album, and I knew that there was more mastering and mixing work to be done, but it was at a point that I was happy with, and it was like coming into like last summer, like really busy. So I was like,
you want to have
I
something.
I pressed a kind of a pre-version. I didn't release it digitally or anything, just had something with me.
Right.
So on that, I ended it with like a little reprise of one of the songs, just like no lyrics, just instrumental, just kind of like open. It was like a secret track, hidden track at the end of the last song, you know.
That's cool. That
So
would
that
be
was
an alternate.
that was the alternate version,
Right.
and I've thought about doing it to more of them just to have out there.
Yeah, reprises are cool because you can go either way. You could like do straight instrumental or just sing the chorus or have like just background
alternate
vocals.
lyrics. The verse that you had to cut off from the main version, you can sing that. You know,
There
so
you go.
like
switch the rhythm up. You know, do a different, slower rhythm.
And on the other hand, I really relate to what you're saying because I have this struggle with certain tracks, kind of which direction to go. Like here, I'll play a little lick on guitar. I don't know if people do that.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I'm not in standard. I'll talk a little as I tune. It's kind of like you just recognize that there's a few ways that a song could go.
Right.
And like you're saying, you don't necessarily have to choose. It's like you can have both versions.
Yeah, and it's if it comes down to like, because people like two different versions, because it's almost like, you know how we're all like we're all watching people online right now, and sometimes it feels more intimate when it's just the version of them and their guitar and singing to you, as opposed to when you see them live with a full band, you want to hear this jammed out, you know, danceable version or something.
Yeah. No, for sure, man.
So it's almost like, fuck it, just release both, because obviously we're all spoiled with media. Saturated. We're saturated with content.
Weird pick. Yeah, so like a song like this, I feel like it could either kind of have like more of like a laid back, folky kind of vibe.
Yeah, like acoustic singer-songwriter.
Or bring it down here and have it like much more grassy.
And that's
so it's like, I don't know which direction I want to go. Maybe
that's
both.
a great example of what a capo can do, because you know how like a lot of those just finger picking singer-songwriter songs, a lot of them can be high capo, you know, higher notes sort of thing. So that was cool.
Bass or other stuff cover kind of the lower territory.
Great example.
Thanks.
So what about you think you got like any well, we obviously talked about the epic Vince Herman party, but any other like really awesome highlights with any of the bands or people you recorded for, or something you're like, that was fucking epic?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
They happen every now and then, those, you know, surreal. Well, like Vince Herman, that was surreal.
I mean, Vince is surreal. Anytime I get to play with Andy Thorne, who was at that as well. I mean, he's like my hero on the banjo. So he sat in a few times. Like Adam Agela, one time sat in with us. The guitar player for Yonder.
Yeah.
And he's always just been such a huge inspiration. Like I said, that's kind of was my segue into bluegrass. I think for many people, you know, bands like Yonder or String Cheese or Leftover Salmon were like this kind of bridge. It wasn't traditional. It wasn't the Ricky Skaggs that I later heard, but I think it primed my ears to understand. When I did hear Kentucky Thunder, it was like, you know, I was prepared for it.
Yeah, I can say it.
And you know, like getting to be involved in like Winter Wondergrass, which was so sad. We did the Steamboat one this year, but Tahoe got canceled. We were like renting a van. We were ready to like have a little tour, and
bad timing.
Yeah.
What about what's like the main bands you're in now, or are you in any bands officially now, or?
Yeah, so the Winter Wondergrass this time around was with a band, Buffalo Commons, who this episode is not going to be out, but we're going to do a live stream this weekend up in Steamboat.
Oh, right on.
But that's kind of moot for this, which I understand. And Tara Rose and the Real Deal is another group I do a lot with. We have some videos out, so you can cut to a clip of them right now.
Are you doing like
and then,
Mando and banjo for these guys, or
yeah, exactly.
either
A
or
little
switching
bit
off?
of dobro,
Dope.
but I'd say predominantly banjo. I mean, I love so many instruments, but I really live for the banjo. I just love it so much.
When
And
you can, and like I take it with the electric one, you can kind of flip into that mode too and go that route for certain songs.
yeah, you still have some different textures and different options. As well with mandolin, I have a really cool electric mandolin I play a lot.
And so those are the main two right now, or well, before all this shit happened.
Hunker
Actively?
Down is my other like main core group.
Oh, cool.
Which kind of has a little bit of a Pine Dwellers, vibe, kind of in that Leftover Salmon, electric
Fusion.
keys, saxophone, drummer, but still
cool.
very much like bluegrass oriented.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah, and those are kind of my main three right now, with like little cameos with other groups. But yeah, it's like
And how many have you been in over the years?
I would liken it to like monocropping or something. There's definitely benefits to just doing one thing, but for me, I just love being able to pivot and do different styles, different songs. Like one of my favorite things is to get hired by a band and with no rehearsal just have to show up, figure out the chords. Like I love that. It's just such a brain challenge for me.
I'm pretty sure you did that with us a couple times.
I'm sure.
At least throwing a lot of new material at you, like all at once. You're like, okay,
right. And we'd always go like down by the river. Of course, we'd go by a body of water and run some songs.
Well, we definitely did. I feel like because we did the radio thing, so we wanted to be prepared for that. So it was like we got like a core of like 10 or a dozen, but it was like everything after that. It was like, all right, you're learning them on the spot, and
yeah,
you seem to fucking handle it no problem.
I love doing that.
We even came back like we did like a trio show, just like me, you, and Noah, like a couple times. Blue Owl, or
that sounds right.
Hard to remember, but
yeah, it is.
So how many can you recall? Like how many bands you've been in since you've lived in Colorado?
I don't know.
Some of them you got some pretty good successful performances or festivals and
for sure. Definitely. Just to actually count them, I'm sure I could if I sat down and,
Any like highlights of any of those, or any favorites? If you want to play that game.
I don't know if that's a good idea, buddy.
Yeah, I mean favorites in a sense of what is like, I love this music, I love playing this. Besides your originals, of course, your own shit.
Besides my own shit, of course. I know it's a really good question. I mean, I think it speaks to this idea of pivoting. Like,
they all have their own.
There's just certain
place.
things I love about each group. Like,
yeah.
And I think there's different learning experiences, and I think how much of like personality and chemistry and all of that comes into play also. So that's always a learning experience.
Yeah. Especially like on stage chemistry. Once you it's a difference in like jamming together and then getting up there.
Oh, for sure, man. I mean, it there can be some heartbreaks in that. People you really love playing with, but either are really, really shy or really, really serious on stage, and like there turns into a breakdown there.
Yeah. It's gotta be a balance.
Sometimes if they have really bad nerves, I've seen this in a lot of players, like they just don't have the stage chops yet. Like you can play with them around a fire and they will crush it. But you go on stage and things get weird. It's like, oh crap, they weren't ready for that. But it's like certain groups like had amazing harmonies. And like I likened one of them to like the Siren song. It's like I was listening to these girls sing and I was just immediately enamored. It was like, that's such a beautiful sound. Some guys have an amazing sense of the jam and like this preternatural telepathic thing we're like, I don't even have to look at them. They know when my solo is about to end. They're ready to start singing again. You know, like that kind of stuff.
That's like the magic there, right there, man.
There's a band like, you know, like there's some that we just have such a great time, you know, and that translates to the audience. We've kind of alluded to that. It's like, and that's where it really flips, because there's been times in my life where I take it too seriously and a mistake is made and like I don't recover for another 2 songs. I'm just so pissed. It's like, no, dude. They want to see the mistakes. They want to be there with you and experience that and see that it's not a big deal, that you can laugh at it and still be having a great time. That's so much more important.
Well,
I feel
like,
to most audiences.
Honestly, especially like at a certain point, like there's been shows where I felt like I just sucked, and people will come up to me and say that was one of their best shows they've seen. I'm just like,
right.
I guess I'm okay when I suck. You know what I mean?
There's so much perspective.
I'm just like, wait till you see me when I'm good, man. But it's like, yeah. But we're always our own worst critics, you know.
Right.
We recognize our flaws more. We recognize our flaws than the other band members, unless, you know, you just have that band member who's like, I heard that, man. You know, but it's just kind of gotta let that shit slide.
There's always been cool stuff. There's always been learning. I'm really reflecting. I'll have to think about this for future interviews about like highlight moments, because that is so important. But I think anytime you're playing in front of a bunch of artists that you really respect, like any kind of festival, those are such nerve-wracking performances in a sense. So a big highlight for me is any time that like someone that I really respect hears me and says like, oh, that was great, you have a great ear, or other stuff like that. Like that's really what keeps us going, I feel like.
Yeah.
You know, getting that recognition.
You made my fucking year, man. Like that's
seriously, you I mean,
you justified my past.
There's a lot of alternative compensation, I'll call it, in this business. Like there is the money, and there can be stuff that's really satisfying that way. Right. But there's also energetically, when you know an audience is really with you, or when an artist really likes what you're doing, it's like those are all part of the package, the compensation package.
When it can feel like a community more, you know, when you get that connection, and
Absolutely.
Especially, you know, you've been there a while, but starting out, you know, you kind of had to figure out where to find that, and I guess, you know, maybe fortunately you found it kind of quickly, or like got into the right scene.
No, part of me feels like I mean, even here almost 10 years later, before the shutdown, I was like, this feels like a miracle. I'm playing some of these festivals that I've always been really into, or playing some of these stages.
Like shit you were thinking about 10 years ago, like I want to do that, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, dude.
So it took a long time, but it also feels like, first of all, I think people are really receptive, like we're talking about, for you to come in the door. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily they're going to say join the band, but they'll at least come in and listen to you. And if you have the chops and the ear, then I think you're pretty quickly like welcomed in. I mean, it still takes a long time. I don't want to underplay it, because it's easy to have like amnesia of all of the bad times, like when no one was calling and there was no gigs on the calendar. But yeah, part of me feels like the welcoming of the scene was really huge, and like pretty much all of the bands I'm in is like people I've met at festivals, like jamming around the fire or at bluegrass picks. Like that inclusive culture has been so integral.
Yeah. It's just what people do there. It's just like,
right. Yeah. So
I swear I've said that many times. It's some of the best pickers I've probably heard in the country. And I think that's a huge part of that, is because they just continue that vibe, that community of like everyone picks, you know what I'm saying? It's a trip in a way.
Yeah, there's been plenty of gigs, weekends, because you know how it is playing music. You can't always watch it. There's a little bit of a trade-off, and you kind of have to decide. And for me, I'm always down to play. Like, but we'll have a crazy weekend of gigs, and then we'll drive at 2 or 3 in the morning. This has happened so many times. We'll drive to whatever bluegrass festival is happening to play until sunrise, you know, and it's just like, we live for that. And
Those
And
moments.
yeah, it's just such a big part of the culture that, yeah, there's nothing like that, you know?
Well, it's cool, man. It seems like you've really embraced it too, and just like 10 years later, almost 10 years later, the amount of bands you've been in and opportunities you've got, I think it kind of speaks volume. So, yeah, I don't know what my point was there, but
No, yeah, I think segue to right now, I have this big period of nothingness, so it's a great time to record an album. And I
it's
kind of had a
almost
similar thing a few years back where I just had a lot of time off and there was like nothing on the books. I'm like, I've always wanted to release my music and get that going more. I've recorded my songs for so long. Like,
right. I thought so, and it's almost surprising that you released it after this long. Release something, you know what I mean?
I know it's kind of crazy.
Because, like, I'm pretty sure you were telling me in 2011 or 12 that you had some of these songs at least recorded on your
I
own
did.
little recorder.
I totally did, yeah.
The Whiskey King or whatever the fuck. I don't know.
No, 100% I did. And yeah, I think, some of that speaks to like the, like, for lack of a better term, like fear of commitment or something. You record a bunch of songs, by the time you actually finish them and mix and master them, you're like, these are shit. I'm never going to release these. So there's like, probably like 30 songs that had been done. And those were still templates for live performance and a good way to teach other people my songs so we could play them.
Totally.
But this, like I was saying, I printed that preliminary version almost because I'm like, I need to do this. Like, by the time I actually finish mixing and mastering, I'll probably be over it. So, like, let me start the momentum.
It's almost like, especially when you do a lot of that yourself, it's like it's sucking that original energy you had into it. When you first record it, it just like feels fresh and you're more passionate about doing it at the time.
Yeah, you have to get other ears, I think, is the thing I discovered. In the later phases, when you've heard the song 1,000 times, you have to bring in fresh ears.
Well, and see, I did the opposite. I made the mistake of releasing things on the moment because I'm so passionate about it, and now I'm looking back and it's like, like 100 songs, there's like 20 great ones. Like, fuck all these other ones. And it's like, at least
it's
like,
all part of being an artist.
Yeah, and it's like now, you just learn the hard way, but I guess that's part of the process. Sometimes you have to write 100 in order to know, what is the best 20 or 10 or 30 or, you know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely. Writing is so much about editing, like so much about editing, any kind of writing, really any kind of art. But I think particularly writing is so much about throwing out half of it. And not even necessarily throwing it out forever. It might work great for a new song. There might be a bridge that you're like, this didn't work out, but I'm keeping it in the back of my head. And when there is a tune,
sometimes just a lick, sometimes a melody, or
right.
But it's I think it's just all part of the process. And I think sometimes when you write something that like is accepted right away, maybe it almost like fuels you to like, anything I write could be good. When you're young and dumb, I guess, but
it could be.
It could be, but you learn later that it might not be. But no.
Yeah,
I don't know. But yeah, I guess maybe that was your reasoning all along. You're like, oh shit, I should hold out until I get even better. 9 years later, put this shit out.
I mean, yeah. So there's an irrational insecurity part of that, and there's also the more advanced artistic intellectual part of that you're like, I can do better, but you also realize that even the best artists do that. Like, they have deadlines, they got to release shit, they can't just sit there and keeping like, no, this is shit. It's like eventually you have to stand behind it, and I'm totally proud to stand by the stuff I've released. And even if
sorry, what were you saying?
Like, even if a certain solo or a verse or whatever, a harmony, it's like, there's always room for improvement, but that doesn't mean it's not a great record. And there's plenty of records that I love that you can hear the artist be like, I wish I hadn't written that verse or other shit. It has never devalued it for me. I still love it.
That's what I was just going to say. I feel like there's there's mainstream artists who can listen to their old stuff, and like even now they might do like a better version live of the old song, and like
Yeah.
I don't know, I kind of like I felt like in some ways as I would get better, you know, your ear gets better, so you almost like recognize I used to like this shit when I was younger that like isn't as, I don't know, melodic or as good, I guess, in a sense, musically.
Some stuff you look back on, and even with all the benefit of nostalgia and all that, you're like, yeah, this really isn't doing anything for me, you know.
Exactly.
Really
And I feel
not
like
doing
even
anything.
even the artist who made it probably feels the same way. So it kind of is what it is. I guess that's kind of the beauty of art. You can have, you know, a younger and older version of it, so to speak, or a wiser version.
There's this line in a movie, and it was just referring to existentially speaking, but he's basically like, every 5 years I look back and I'm like, wow, I was such an asshole 5 years ago, and or I was such an idiot 5 years ago. And that's true in life, and it's especially true in art. Hopefully you're always going to be evolving. And
yeah, I just saw that Beastie Boys documentary. I don't know if you're Beastie Boys, but
I haven't seen it. I should check that out. Yeah.
it was Ad Rock, and they were trying to like bust him out, an interviewer saying, you know, how he's a hypocrite because they used to be you know, womanizers and whatnot, and he was like, I'd rather be a hypocrite than stay the same. And it's like you're asking about something 10 years later. It's like, why would you? You know, some people have the expectancy to not evolve, which is kind of messed up in its own right.
Right.
You know what I mean? And again, like, yeah, I've made that mistake of like you suck when you're young, and people think you're not going to get better, and you're just like, well, wait a second. It's like, come on,
you can
man.
never discredit. I've learned this in the industry, and there's a lot of reasons for it, some good, some bad, but you really can't discredit someone based on like subpar musicianship, just to put it bluntly.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
That doesn't mean it's not growing. That doesn't mean they're not a great producer. That doesn't mean they're not. There's so many different skills.
Yeah, and it's almost like it all comes from some type of passion. So it's like almost like if that comes through, that's almost like more important than
Absolutely.
the musician. So, because like, I mean, obviously we have a lot of modern music that's popular that's very simple. I mean, even a lot of like hip hop is out of tune. Somehow they can make it work. I mean, not always, but you know, especially older stuff when everything was sampled and whatnot. But
right, totally, the imperfection was part of the perfection.
And I remember being young and like I realized that like it was appeal to punk rock and hip hop. It's like, oh, you don't have to be that good, but you can still make it sound good if you know what you're doing. But
the rawness and the power can be there.
But eventually, no, you should probably get good and get your chops together.
Eventually, you should probably get
Don't
good.
fuck off forever on a fucking drum machine. If that's your thing, whatever. But
No,
shit. What what else you want to get into? For the future, you're probably going to get into more recording and
I mean, I really hope that that's what's funny about the timeline here in two senses, that it's like we don't know what's going to happen with performances this summer, which is a huge anxiety for me. I mean, so far I've only had one festival canceled and one wedding postponed, but it's just like I can only imagine there's going to be a lot more. I wish that I could plug something, but it's like I don't even know if anything's happening. It's like,
oh, yeah, I know. It sucks. And that's, I just actually had one. It was supposed to be in 2 weeks. It's rescheduled till October. So at least they rescheduled it, but it's like still 5 months later. It's like, shit.
Right.
And are things going to be normal by then?
I know. Part of me feels like when they postpone it from summer to fall, it almost seems backwards. I feel like things are, as flu season just naturally ends, I feel like the summer is going to get more okay, and then fall might be relapse. These people that like are postponing the fall.
But then it's also like when it's okay, it's like what, everyone's gonna come out the woodwork and go nuts, you know? Then what?
Probably not.
It starts over.
It really might be a vaccine for us as performers. It really might be a vaccine situation that even if everything opens, it's not going to be till like there's a vaccine that people will psychologically feel comfortable enough. Well, which I'm a little bit opposite. I feel like we need to get out there and get exposed and get over it.
the one thing we're not really saying is how to strengthen your immune system. And yes,
Right.
that is one way, or also with, diet, nutrition, health in general. Because it's almost like, I feel like, I'm not like necessarily against vaccines, but I almost feel like they're for people who don't want to strengthen their immune system. They just
Right.
want something.
Right.
And almost like maybe our government knows that most people don't have strong immune systems. So
I think
that's kind of...
it's just this kind of thing highlights and exacerbates existing issues. So in the sense of health overall, it's like obesity, diabetes, heart conditions, all of these lifestyle issues are what put you at super risk.
Exactly.
So it's like those totally need to get addressed. But
when
at the risk of this turning into a science podcast,
right.
I know that I'm going to be recording. I keep gesturing here. You can't even see. I have all my
cool.
recording gear.
What do you just record it into your computer, or
I
recorder?
don't know how this will work exactly, but this is my main
cool.
A to D converter. I have a much larger digital mixer for like full band type projects. But basically right in here, just a couple mics.
Does the interface do like 2-channel? Or like,
yeah, exactly. Well, 4 technically, but like two really nice mic preamps. Whereas the large mixer has like 12. Not as good a pre's, but it has like 12. So you could do a full band, track it out like no problem, do all the mixing later.
And then what program do you use?
I'm mostly just in Ableton these days.
Cool.
So
keep it simple.
That's kind of a vestige, an artifact of when I was doing live looping and more electronic, but I've just gotten so comfortable in it.
Right.
And it's something you can like buy and have, just like this Pro Tools like monthly rental idea. Like you can never actually own it anymore. And I understand what they're doing, but for me personally, I don't really need it right now, but
I use Adobe Audition. Yeah, they started doing that. They don't make them after version 6, and like I actually have 6, so I can always like use that. But it's just annoying that they do that. No, actually, no. That's Premiere. I think I have version 14. Who knows? Whatever. But
anyway, regardless of whatever happens, I know I'll release more music. And like on Instagram and Facebook, Danjo Harris Music. I'll keep doing like videos and that kind of stuff. Just again, this whole idea of therapy, and a lot of my posts, I say it. It's like, I hope this video brings you joy. It's like that's all I want to do. I want people to like have something, especially at a time like now, just to be able to like sit down for a few minutes and relax and let the art wash over them and hopefully help. And it seems like people are really enthusiastic for the most part.
I feel like people really need, any type
really
of art
need
right
it
now, but especially music,
It's always needed, but now more than ever, I think.
And it's almost ironic. We all watch on screen so often anyways, and now we have to, in a sense. So I think the live performance is going to be craved, like, extremely. It already is, but
heavily.
I mean, I feel like it's a fix right now. If I could go play, it'd be like a fucking fix. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's definitely a drug, bro. There's no question about that. We're chasing the dragon hardcore.
Fuck it. But I also feel like, man, I don't want to do those bullshit gigs anymore. The ones that, whatever.
Oh, I know the ones.
You know the ones, yeah. You got to make money, but you're like, fuck. All right.
Yeah, so it's always a struggle.
What about, so your album's called, I can't remember it, Brokedown Mountain?
Yeah, Brokedown Holler. I'll grab one right now.
Brokedown Holler. And any specific songs? You got cool video?
Where is it? Oh, there we go.
Oh, dope. Right on. And was this taken outside of your Evergreen home?
This is actually up in Winter Park. If you look closely there, I think you can almost see the resort.
Kind of, it's a little blurry, but yeah.
Right, yeah.
Looks cool.
Yeah,
you got any
definitely...
specific songs or cool videos from that one in particular? Or something you're extra proud of?
We did a live stream the other day. that has some of them, which I don't know if we actually have the file of it like we were talking about, because it was like Facebook Live.
Oh, you can download it after the fact if you click
Really?
like in your video thing. Yeah, it's a little the 3-dot thing. It'll give you options and just put download HD video.
So we'll work on that. I know I mentioned a few tunes. Silent Storm is another song that we did during the stream, and that was like the debut, so that was kind of exciting. It starts really slow and funky and then gets like way fast. I think as I was writing it, part of me was like, it would be cool to have a song that went from as slow as we ever play to like as fast as we ever play, you know?
Oh yeah.
People get really excited by that.
A progression.
Too Late, the last track on the record. I have the beautiful Alexandra Schwann. You know her.
Oh yeah.
You can see the guests here, maybe if it's bright enough. But
I see Noah.
Yeah, Alexandra is on there. It's too small for those.
Backup vocals, viola and violin. Dope. And
so, so basically,
you're playing.
I do everything I can, which is like banjo, mando, guitar, dobro, piano, vocals, and then I bring in some special guests. So Too Late is a really awesome duet song with Alexandra that I really love. Cool. She did such a great job. Forevermore, track number 3, I joke it's like my James Taylor song. It's sort of like finger picking, open D, like pretty acoustic guitar, but she through harmonized that song. So like the entire song is us on this duet harmony, and I really liked that, how that came out.
She's got a great voice, for sure.
And yeah, there's no like official videos, though I'm kind of working a little more on that now, but there's definitely kind of live, either solo or duo, other iterations.
Right on.
And
you can get a promo video.
Yeah, exactly. And like in between now and when this gets edited and shit, I'll try to get on YouTube and actually put some stuff.
Well, I put out the full one first, and then I'll make some type of clip or two.
Oh, this whole thing is gonna be a thing. I didn't know that.
Yeah, because I feel like, only certain people will like listen to a full podcast, and probably people who are already into podcasts or are into what you do more. And I feel that's kind of like the cool thing about it. Like each episode can be a different audience, so they're bound to cross over. You know what I mean? But overall, the 5-10 minute clips, I definitely think they're going to be more popular.
Right.
And totally. You cut in the live performance, and all that shit just looks cooler. It's almost like some I don't know, PBS shit or something.
Oh, totally, dude.
It's my own little station.
That's totally how they do it. Little features.
Yeah, exactly. So
nice. Cool.
Yeah, I'll probably make like a tribe one anyways and incorporate. I'm trying to get Noah on here. I don't know what the hell he's doing. Do you see him much? Or?
I do, but not as much. He's definitely working real hard.
He works for like an edible thing?
Yeah, Canyon Cultivation. He's doing amazing work. He gives me, I get to try his candy from time to time.
Cool.
But I think the hours are a little crazy.
Right.
He's up in so early now to get to the factory by 6 or something. So,
no worries.
But he's obviously a really interesting guy and a lot of cool things to say. So yeah, that'd be awesome if you can track him down.
It's just hard, probably finding time and all that jazz. But because I've done it with a few other ones, people are cross-referencing the same band or whatever. So I cut them together.
Dude. Oh yeah,
those are cool.
I bet evening time could work for him.
Yeah, well, and it's you think right now, most people can do something, at least when they get home, if they actually have to work, when they go home, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, shit, man. If there's anything else you want to say or put out into the ether, maybe you just told your whole life story. Music.
Everyone, stay sane. Don't panic. Be kind. Don't pick fights on the internet. I know we're all sitting at home with nothing to do, but
yeah, it's almost just a challenge to keep yourself from interacting sometimes, even though we all want to interact hopefully in a positive way, but it's almost, I don't know, there's enough negative things to talk about or something. Who knows?
Oh yeah, there's no shortage there, buddy.
And everyone has the loudest voice once they're behind a screen. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I like about this. It's whatever, we can like talk on Messenger all day, but how are you really like interacting? You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Yeah.
enjoy the communication like that. This almost feels
Especially
like we're
since
hanging
it's
out.
been that long, man. It's great to catch up and.
Yeah, it feels like I could pass a bong through the screen. Maybe.
This is the
In the
future,
future.
too. Like, I know we don't have
And
flying cars, but we
that's what
have
was-
it. This is pretty amazing.
That's what I was saying when it was just such a trip. All this shit happened, and I just started doing all this. Because I actually got introduced to Zoom. I've been working with this marketing guy. He works he lives in Ireland. So I've never actually met him, but we've done tons of Zoom things. So
It's amazing, man.
there's so many TV shows. This is what it is now. Like,
I
it's
know. I saw SNL the other day. It's insane.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But well, shit, man. Thanks for being on the show. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, it
So
was
good
great
to see you.
seeing you. Cool, man. Thanks for being on. Appreciate it. Thanks, man.
Peace out, man. Much
Have a
love.
good one.